I've come to see that the images that make up my life. They're liars, and I believe everything they say. Behold, this one falling in love, another in grief's grasp. This is the witness of pain, the joy of the victory, the spectacle of a life. In those moments we search for our humanity, the emotional connective tissue between us so strong it's physical. For me, that indefinable emotion of connectivity can be found in the pictures. This is 2 decades of observation, 7,300 and some days of personal surveillance, 1 score of a life, millions of moments taken from the collective and surrendered to the digitization of our memory. And that makes these words the run-on caption of my life. Originally, the name of Henri Cartier-Bresson's magnum opus was Images à la sauvette, or Images on the Run. The English translation coined it the decisive moment. Within it, and among other claims, it states, quote, what the camera does is simply to register upon film the decision made by the eye. Photography is the simultaneous recognition in a fraction of a second of the significance of an event, as well as the precise organization of forms which give that event its proper expression. Unquote. These slivers of time are saved and presented as forever moments, both remembered and dictated simultaneously. These decisives, made on the run, were, for most of photography's history, often offered as permanent and physical objects. Increasingly more often, they are presented with accelerated impermanence, temporarily in existence, making themselves as unfixed and temporal as the original moment they purport to be. Language has always been made of symbols, of images, simplified to the comprehension of the minds able to use them. In turn, these words form our collective understanding. It is the language of our future selves, the society that speaks in visuals, where smiley-faced, hand-palmed icons replace entire conversations. Susan Sontag called it, quote, a democratization of all experiences by translating them into images, unquote. This unending thirst to be seen is sought in the replication of a fraction of time that we borrow from one another to better understand what we have taken. 1,000 words a photograph, every frame a painting. The image is not our own. Our dreams are borrowed from the collective. The replication of every moment into a product we can hold or sell or appropriate. A thing that is increasingly less often physical, but still tangible, like what we call a memory. At my parents' house are dozens of photo albums that document my life until the age of 20 or so. The books are filled with captured and curated images from my childhood through my young adulthood. My mother, the family documentarian, created them, but they do not belong to her any more than they do to myself, my father, or my siblings. They also matter little to anyone outside of this family body. The images are held between plastic sheets and glued paper, bound with 3 rings and stacked together like the most important literature on a bookshelf holding up the entire corner of their guest bedroom. These memories are dioramas of real moments. They are distracted bits of selected focus. They are limited to their own frame. They remind me I am not who I think I am, yet they are what I have to understand my history. We lean on the things that prove we are who we think we are, things that define us to ourselves, things that help us remember, things that are increasingly more digital than physical, things that can be formatted and forgotten as easily as they are saved forever. Among Sontag's most quotable thoughts, she says, quote, it would not be wrong to speak of people having a compulsion to photograph, to turn experience into a way of seeing. Ultimately, having an experience becomes identical with taking a photograph of it. Today, everything exists to end in a photograph. Unquote. In the almost half-century that has passed since she awoke that idea, the photograph has become far more decentralized across the populace, and a relation to it akin to her own identity. For 20 years, I've documented the space and stories around me. Some of these images have been published in the world's most circulated newspapers. Some have been installed on billboards in cities across the country. Some are printed into books. Most are stored on hard drives waiting for their inevitable degradation or corruption. I've filled well over 4 dozen hard drives, holding something in the vicinity of 200 terabytes of photos, videos, documents, content, data. 20 years ago, the Library of Congress contained 1/10 this amount of data, a figure that has exponentially grown as we collectively make and save more than 2 billion images a day. Pixar didn't happen. It is my small collection of information, the hard drives I've carried with me these last 2 decades, that are what I have left to prove any of this happened. These are the albums of my middle life. The selection of images in this piece are one version of an infinite number of stories that could have been told from the finite amount of moments collected. This is but one version of the truth. The photographer Richard Avedon said, quote, "All photographs are accurate. None of them is the truth." Unquote. The algorithms know this and use our photographs like children playing a game of pretend. Only we know if it was real or memory. I've been wondering lately, is this my story at all?